everybody, Good Buddy Q here with...
Lubo.
You okay?
Yes, and I wanted to thank everybody who has stuck it out with us for this long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We didn't expect it to be this long.
Yeah, we didn't. I expected it to be like 4 episodes tops.
Yeah, but then we kept adding stuff.
Well, there's a lot to talk about, and a lot
It's
of
true.
like little stories and shit.
Also
Hopefully
true.
we entertained you.
Yeah, we hope this is entertaining. Womp womp.
On the floor, oars.
Anyways, yes, so, as Lubo was talking about last time, there's different endings to this. You may go.
Okay, so, the main route we have dubbed Purgatory, because, yes, a whole lot of... So there's some good shit in there, yes, but it does not end on a perfect, happy note. Things go awry, things go bad, things go good. It's the most up and down one, and it levels out around a 5 out of 10 on the happiness scale. They've still got to work at it to get their happy ending. Nothing is guaranteed. We have heaven and hell to match. Well, let's go to heaven first, or at least the, this one. There's 2 different heaven routes, but this is the main one. Nevo kind of realizes his mistake, and he relents power fairly early on in order to stay a family, when it was just him, Tver, and Vanya. Just the 3 of them. The other lambs hadn't become a thing yet, and the concept for the other lambs was only in the kind of prototype stage. Because why bother taking over the world and ruining it further? He's actually happy. He's genuinely happy. And his kid doesn't deserve to grow up in a broken-ass world. So, eventually, Vanya talks him into bringing back all the nation kind as adults. And he sets them free without a fight. The world is restored without any bloodshed. And he gets to remain a family with his son, well, quote-unquote son, and his would-be shepherd.
Doesn't technically become the shepherd, and they eventually get Ish together, because it's like, he's a decent dude now.
Yeah, he learned his lesson. He screwed up, but he fixes the world.
And he gives Tver a childhood he could never have gotten him before.
Yep. So, he undoes the damage he did, he brings everybody back, he relinquishes his hold on the world, and all's well again. We did kind of elaborate on that later, in like as Tver gets older, but we're not going into that.
Mm-mm.
We're going to hell instead.
Do-do-do-do, let's go to hell.
Oh god, it's bad. It is really bad.
It's fucking whack, yo.
Oh my god. So, basically, we decided to change the premise. This was the original premise for this, too. And we thought to ourselves, how would this story change if we switched out Tver, or a son, for a love interest, and we brought Mundi in instead?
Sigmund, for those who remember the 2P Outsiders, or just my 2P discussion videos in general.
The Teutonic Knight that Vanya was pining after from his young adulthood. Nevo brings back Mundi, for the sake of these AU purposes, was also killed by Nevo. Presumably he had been living there, or at least had crossed, something like that. Vanya does his best to look after him, because this is his bargaining chip instead of Tver.
As an adult, too, not as a child.
Yep, with no memory whatsoever. The guy is basically a vegetable.
Blank slate.
And Nevo tries to has it framed as, see, you can bring back people too. I've shared my power with you. And if you're good, I'll give you more. That's not true, of course, but it kind of drives a little wedge into what's left of Vanya's brains. Vanya keeps going and starts to actually remind him and bring his memory back. Over time, Nevo kind of notices, oh shit, they're actually kind of, there's the relationship between them is still there. and he gets really jealous. It gets bad.
Because not only
Nero-
of just being really lonely, but Vanya still looks like his old prince, so there's kind of old wounds plus bitter jealousy.
Yeah. He takes all of his aggression out on Vanya, one way or another. And Vanya sticks it out for Mundi. At this point, he's barely hanging on to whatever semblance of sanity he has left. All of his hair has gone white. He has aged again. He looks awful. And he feels awful, and he's barely holding on. And when Mundi is finally fully restored, he tells him to get the hell out of here and go back across the river to home, quote-unquote. And Mundi tells him, I'm not leaving. Of course not. I'm not going to leave you here alone. And Vanya fucking boots him out. He throws his ass out because he'd rather have him gone and living in that hellhole than staying in this one. He doesn't trust Nevo to leave Mundi alone. He'd rather just take it himself and be done with it. Because he can handle it as far as he knows. Mundi doesn't leave. Of course not, but Vanya don't know that. Eventually, Vanya just breaks. He breaks down. All of his will to fight is gone. He becomes a sycophant. He's empty and hollow. There's no fight left in him. He's doesn't argue. He's agreeable. He's listless. He hangs on every word. And Nevo gets really bored of him. Because he isn't as fun to bang anymore, because there's nothing to break in him anymore. So he throws him away. And he tells him that he's done with him. He's useless to him now that he doesn't fight with him anymore. And what's Vanya just becomes catatonic. He's just utterly destroyed. And that's how Mundi finds him. And he's not really all that happy. Nevo, in turn, remembers him. He remembers he's the only one who might actually give him some fight. So, on the agreement that I think he keeps Vanya safe or something like that,
Yeah.
he takes Mundi in as a concubine. Mundi, on the other hand, decides, I'm gonna take revenge. Fuck you. Mundi's used to, kind of not, I shouldn't say used to it, but he at least knows how to handle people like what Nevo has turned into. God knows he was stuck with fucking Alexander for long enough.
Yeah, just being one person's toy and now someone else's doll.
Yeah. Mundi fights with him. Mundi lets him play dress up with him and just
All of
straight
this
up
seducing.
Yep. Until one day he found out his weakness and killed him. With the bad god dead, since he no longer had any hold on their lands anymore, the adults all regenerate like nothing ever happened. And Mundi leaves to go and try and take care of the vegetable that was Vanya. It's rough.
Yeah.
Vanya doesn't speak. He has to be fed. He will sit in a chair, unmoving for hours on end. He won't meet people's eyes. He won't speak. He's empty. There's nothing left of him anymore.
Eventually,
That's why it's
though,
called
with,
hell.
Later on, with Tavera and Mundi's help, gets a little better. But
It's still
not
hell.
a lot, yeah. It's happy enough. It's more bitter than sweet.
There's a lot of bitterness. It's bitter enough to make you spit it out. It's like a lemon rind.
Bleh.
The original heaven kind of spawns off of this same scenario. So it starts with the hell setup and Mundi being brought in, but instead of jealousy, Mundi brings Nevo and Vanya closer together, and it ends with a polyamorous relationship between the three of them. Nevo brings the nations back without any bloodshed because he's happy. Why does he need to do anything about it? But that ending has probably the least amount of development to it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a concept more than a fleshed out event.
Yup.
Now we move on to Gift. The sort of a retrospective.
I basically made Gift for you. That's Christmas present.
You and Maddie both.
Yeah. Maddie helped me with the story a little when I got stuck. It was good stuff. And also, they made some of the sprites. Well, they made Vanya's sprite.
They did. They made Vanya's sprite. I made Nevo's sprite.
Yeah,
and Tver's.
And I based the others around it.
What? I am actually kind of curious. Wasn't there originally a different ending to the game?
Yeah, originally we tried to think of a situation to have it end with the confrontation, with Alfred being sedated and, that stuff, because that'd be a fucking thing to walk into, is seeing Father all a huge-ass monster and stuff. But I couldn't find a way to make it sound like a complete story that way, because that thing takes a lot of days, and if it's from Mikhail's point of view, that'd be really hard to pull off. So I decided to I remember we talked once about that Mochi thing, about him trying to, just being all cutesy and stuff, and then almost fucking nomming him. So I was like, what if we bring up that concept?
And that's how Gift happened.
Yep. In 6 days. I am so proud.
You should be. That's impressive.
Yeah, for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, Gift is a game that is, again, Bad God AU, from Tver's point of view, who wants to make a gift. It's during the times when only the first generation was around, so everyone's still really little. And he wants to get Father's attention, but he's just been kind of busy. And so he made a gift for him, aka title gift. But whenever he tried, it got stolen. So he had to go get it back. So it's just more of a view of a teaser of this sort of thing, of how the characters are, what the sort of atmosphere is, that sort of thing.
It's an interesting tidbit. This is the first game we've made that technically has a full OC insert for a protagonist and an antagonist that has its own project.
And the Italians are, supporting roles.
That shocked me that people actually liked it as much as they did. And I think you were curious if this actually worked. A lot of people kind of mentioned that usually OC-led games aren't very good, they're pretty terrible, and they're boring. But there hasn't really been any backlash for it as far as I can tell.
Granted, I know this is just, as long as we say this, there's gonna be people who be like, oh yeah, look at all these bad commentary, and it's like, sure, do that, because then we can take constructive criticism.
I think I know kind of why this works.
Uh-huh.
It's because it's a story and in a setting that's, yes, it's unique, but it's got strong characters that work well within the canon. Most of the time when you see a OC-led game, they don't add to the canon, they disrupt it. So, say this random person kind of shoves their way into the Italia canon. They were secretly a country all along. They're in love with somebody and all that business. It feels kind of awkward. It feels shoot in. This feels a little more natural, and it uses canon to back itself up.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn here, but I hate to say this, but I have very, very high standards when it comes to OC-led stuff. I make OCs regularly, and I've seen when it works and when it doesn't work. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. Everyone has a really shitty Mary Sue that they've made at some point or another, and I made dozens when I was a young teenager.
Same.
I've made bad OCs. I've made good OCs. I've made some in the middle. And writing around them technically intruding on the canon means you've got to be careful about it, and you have to back it up with canon fact, or find a niche that hasn't been filled. You don't really see baby-driven games very often. You don't see nation childhood games very often.
Yep.
You don't see family dynamic content outside of the Face family. It's a place for them to shine in sort of an area that they don't have a chance to shine in very often.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the antagonist is a jerkwad, and we all kind of want to see him fall, but at the same time, we also kind of want to see him succeed. He's a jerk, but some people would probably agree with his methods. I mean, the world is kind of shitty. Maybe starting afresh is the best way to fix it. His methods are terrible, but...
Cool motive, still murder.
Yeah, he's a dynamic 3D protagonist. Well, antagonist. And then the protagonist is just a child. Vanya's the supporting character in this. That's what he does. He's just in the background.
I imagine Vanya's the protag for a good chunk of it, and then like shifts arc, and then Mikhail's more of the protag. Or he's co-protag.
He's kind of...
Because this is also Vanya's story just as much. It's more of the story of both of them.
I would actually say this is not Vanya or Tver's story. This is Nevo's story.
Technically.
Because this is him going through a very long character arc. Because Vanya stays roughly the same for the most part from start to finish. He was in this for the long haul.
True.
He still was trying to bring this guy down from the very beginning. Tver, for the most part, stays roughly the same from start to finish. Granted, he grows up and he does undergo character development, but his plot arc is kind of self-contained.
Yeah.
Nevo, on the other hand, he starts as something and finishes as something completely different. He goes through a very dramatic character arc, where he starts as the villain, and he ends as a broken shell of himself that's trying to fix the damage he did. He goes from an antagonist to sort of an anti-hero protagonist cross. Meanwhile, the other nations, they have all their own character arcs and motivations all separate to themselves as well. Because from their position, they have everything to complain about. They are completely legitimate in their concerns and their issues with how Tver is being doted upon by everyone else, or how the world is being run, or not in Nevo's case.
And it's like, technically, Tver's like an OC and stuff that has like a higher position, but it doesn't always change like that. Yeah, there's a crush on him and stuff like that, but it never really ends up in anything, too.
Because the world goes back to the way it was, and Tver's gotta come to grips that he's unimportant in the long run. He's not important. That's just the way it is. He's a region in the end. Which is why Vanya told Nevo, don't call him the Lamb of God. You'll give him a complex. You'll make him think he's more important than he really is. He's a region. He's a henchman. You can't treat him as anything better than that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nevos was kind of self-projecting, too, because he started from a slave, just sold, now God. And now he's a broken shell of a man.
But he's free.
Yep. Free from the madness.
Well, that and his, whomever owned him, but yes.
That too.
I would say that if it all comes down to characters in the end. People are going to like an OC-driven game if the characters are strong enough to support that game.
Yep.
Whether they're the antagonist, the protagonist, or both. You just gotta make sure that the characters themselves can carry the game from start to finish. If not, it fumbles and falls all over itself, and people start to pick apart all of the issues that the game has or the character has. There has to be some sort of suspension of disbelief, and if the character isn't strong enough to make you forget that they're technically an OC, then you're not going to get anywhere with them.
Yeah.
If it feels canon, it will be canon as far as the reader or the player is concerned.
Yeah.
I've ranted long enough, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's a really good, thought about it. And hopefully with this we'd recommend rewatching or replaying. Playing is always good, Gift, so you can, be able to fully understand it with, all of the context behind it now. Hopefully it's a lot better. And we've had questions of, what are you gonna do with this? We don't know.
Visual novel? Maybe?
Maybe visual novel, maybe fanfic, possibly an RPG. Who knows? Because this would be a ginormous project to take upon.
Yeah. This would be a 15-hour deluge, to be honest, because you would have multiple time skips to consider. You'd have to find some sort of a long arcing plot that would keep everybody engaged. You'd have to flesh out all 200-odd years that this AU takes place in. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we encourage you guys instead to write your own stories.
Mm-hmm. Because anything can happen.
Yeah. Play around with it. See what happens.
Mm-hmm. Because this
can't
isn't
see
just
it, but I
ours.
just wink it.
It's open to anybody.
Wink. You can't see it, but I'm winking.
Wink, wonka.
Winku wonka. What the hecky?
What? I'm just thinking of the mochis. Anyway, so, last episode, hooray. Any last words?
Say my name!
No. Oh, wear it!
Wear it! Oh god. We didn't explain that, but it's real quick. Basically, he tries to give him a crown to wear for, ceremonial purposes. Vanya sees it as a kokoshnik, which is what traditionally women wear, and he's just like, I'm not having that shit! I am not a woman! Stop that!
You'll do it anyway!
Wear it!
No, wear it! And that's where that joke comes from. Ta-da!
Told you to be quick.
Yup.
We didn't want to go on another long diatribe.
Just a whole fucking episode about wear it.
Yeah. Knowing us, though, we totally could, because it was those early days that we didn't really flesh out.
Yeah. Fucking...
Let's not, though.
Yeah. Let's not go about its origins conceptual-wise.
That's for another discussion.
That's for another discussion and for another day. And for this day, I hope it's a good one. So
never come.
Ha 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 ha. So have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
It was fun.
Oh, and for those listening, if you haven't eaten today, go eat.
Go eat. I should eat.
Yes, you should.
Yes. Have a good day and go eat. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.